Hi all and welcome to a new video. As an avid Age of Sigmar enjoyer, let's go over my thoughts and opinions on the game now that it's been out 2 months. Hot take, it is mixed. I actually really enjoy 4th edition, but we will get into some of my issues with it later on. Starting out with my experience with the edition so far to kind of give you guys a framework for what I am working with. I've gotten in over 10 games and mostly with Skaven. I also play OBR and Ogor Mawtribes. I have mostly played against Sylvaneth and Nighthunt, but have gotten games in against Sons of Behemoth and Flesh Eater Courts. I played 3rd edition near weekly after the release of the OBR Codex, if not more often at times, with OBR being my first army in AOS, as I just got lucky and got an army for really cheap. My initial impressions on the edition are pretty good. The rules are much better than 3rd edition. The ability to do actions on your opponent's turn is amazing, and I wish more systems had this. It makes the I go, you go so much more interesting because you have so many ways to mess with your opponent and different things to do at all times. It always feels like there's a good option. And since you're limited to 4 command points between your turn and your opponent's turn and the round, it ends up working pretty balanced and pretty well because if you spend command points doing the wrong thing, it could cause issues. I usually try to spend command points to make it really hard for the opponent to actually, try and do a battle tactic, and then I can use them to deny it in some way, shape, or form. That usually works really well for me. At least so far. That's been where most of my luck is. Endless spells are a lot and need changes, and they'll get their own little section on what I think needs to change, but endless spells are a lot. They are just a lot. I have so many issues with them, but that is besides the point. Spearhead seems to be a ton of fun. It is not my cup of tea at all, not even remotely close. I've gotten 1 game of it in, and I've watched multiple games, and it does not interest me as much as the larger scale. I like what Spearhead is doing for people who are just getting into the game. However, it's not going to be going into my normal rotation anytime soon, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Next up, we have my impression on the Battleplans, and some of my personal favorite Battleplans have returned, and experiencing others for the first time has been fun. I like the underdog system a lot, but maybe the underdog needs to be 5 points behind, because in close games, it can sometimes feel a little unfair. Also, some battle plans have a really bad underdog ability that just doesn't do anything, and I feel like that's a little bad. The Jaws of Gullet and the Vice are my personal favorite battle plans. All of the times I've played on them, the games have gone differently or gone very interesting. Requires you to think on your feet, mess around, do weird things, and that's just a lot of fun. If I had to choose, I would probably always choose one of those two. However, I also want to try out Star Strike because that looks like a lot of fun, along with other plans. I believe I have played on all of them but the Star Strike one. So far, I can't think of any I absolutely hate either. Each one offers a very unique feel and a different way of play. And now the Armies of Age of Sigmar. Reading through the armies, there are definitely some rules made better than others. Night Hunt is just too good. Run and charge and retreat and charge is too good. It is way too good. Run and charge, retreat and charge, that's just, especially since most of their stuff triggers on charges, it is too much. It also means that their board presence is ridiculous. You will be charged turn 1 9 out of 10 times. And it is just not fun to start having to grind through Night Hunt, especially since they ignore Rend, which is ridiculous. Yeah, most of their base saves are 4s and 5s, but I run Skaven. Most of my base saves are 4s and 5s anyway. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, it's insane. Whoever signed off on Night Hunt needs to have their job reevaluated. There's no reason they should be this good. And on the opposite side, some factions still feel underpowered. Sons of Behemoth? I wiped them off the board with a non-optimized Skaven army. It wasn't that hard. And Caradron Overlords. Yeah, woo, KO, can't interact with magic at all anymore. And don't play half the game, and it makes me feel bad. Because they should do more, but they don't, and it's ridiculous. Now going into the opinions of the armies I play, starting with Skaven. Skaven are an army I exclusively play because I got 2 halves of the box of Skaven Tide and really enjoyed the rules. The Skaven rules are amazing and super thematic this season. In fact, I would argue they're some of the most fun army rules I have interacted with. I always feel like there's something different or new I could be doing, and I love that. Unfortunately, Skyer feels a little weird at times due to how the rules are written. I personally don't think they're nearly as good as Molder or Verminous, but that's just me. But I also run Skyer primarily, and It also looks like we're getting some new weapon teams and warp grinder stuff that'll probably change my opinion. Eshin and Pestilence feel so off since they don't really have rules this edition, and I feel bad. Pestilence is actually what started getting me into Skaven, and now that they don't exist anymore, I've kind of gone full Molder. The new releases look fantastic, but I'm a bit disappointed the battle tones won't include new prayers and spells, and we are stuck to 3. In general, I do think the Skaven's hardest hitters are probably Storm Fiends. Storm Vermin are a bit better than Clan Rats in my experience. I haven't really found a good use for the Claw Lord due to how the points are, and Thanquil on Bonereaper is fantastic. I absolutely love him. Next up are Ogor Mawtribes. The rules that made me get ogres don't exist anymore, so I am going to be very, very, very negative in this small little section. The Monster Mash list sucks, and running all Gluttons and Ironjaws is not fun for me. The rules made me drop the army. Hopefully the battle tone changes something. The Gluttons have a pretty okay profile, the Iron Guts have a crappy profile. Unless you bring 6 of them, then it has kind of okay. The Iron Blaster sucks worse than it did in 3rd, despite me bringing it constantly in 3rd. I brought it because I just wanted to have some fun with it, but now the rules are so bad I don't even want to touch it. The Frost Lord is okay, I guess, but the rest of the monster people, the Beast Riders, are bad. The Gorgers are kind of fun, and the Slaughtermaster and the Butcher have good rules, but that's kind of it. The rest of the army is just generic. I hit things really hard. We don't have the eating ability, really, and the one we do is so bad that it makes me just not want to run or play this army. I put them all on the shelf. Maybe I'll touch them again eventually. And the army that got me into AOS, Ossiarch Bonereapers, or the AOS Necrons, as I often call them. Ossiarch Bonereapers are in a good place from what I have seen. The few games I've played with them have been very fun. They aren't as oppressive as they were in 3rd edition, so that helps a lot. I specifically stopped playing Bonereapers and started playing Ogres in 3rd edition, because whenever I played certain Bonereapers lists, most of my local people who didn't play Bonereapers would lose, because I had access to crazy things, even after the nerfs. Stalkers, my favorite unit, kinda suck now, which is bad. However, in general, I can put the army on a board and people are not going to look at me and go, I hate your guts. So I'll take it. I can play Bonereapers again, and I'm starting to play them again, and they're fun, and I like them. Now getting on to the seasonal rules in the GHB, they are very tame but very useful. They are 3 buffs you choose in the deployment phase, a +1 to hit, +1 to wound, a rend addition when you charge, and a bodyguard. The +1 to hit, +1 to wound is usually the best one, but if the opponent only has a general in the general's regiment, then the extra rend ends up being better in my experimentation. The bodyguard rule is pretty much useless unless you have a general with a large enough base to make it useful, or unless you're in a very specific circumstance. There are instances where it could be good, but in general, I've kind of just found it to be bad, and that's just the types of armies I run. You think it would be good with Skaven, but honestly, I haven't had the best luck with it. And now on to Endless Spells. Endless Spells are bad. They're just bad. Purple Sun is good. That entire manifestation lore is fantastic. The fact that they can be taken for free is amazing, but the fact that they can be taken for free is also terrible. There are some spell lores that are just better than others, and the Purple Sun of Shayesh's lore, that I can't remember the name of, the Manifestations of Doom, I think, is the absolute worst for it. It is so just... Everybody has a copy of it. Everyone owns it now. They are sold out locally. Everybody's building them or asking to borrow them for tournaments. It is ridiculous. Now, personally speaking, I think the best way to fix this is to put points value on generic endless spells. Have faction-specific endless spells remain free, but put points value on the generic options. Now, I know not every faction has access to endless spells, and some have to take generics, but that can be fixed by them getting new endless spell lores through, the releases for 4th edition, and I personally think that would do the most to help the game. Pay the extra points for something that is better than what your faction already gets, and what your faction gets, they just get. And that would work. I personally think that is the best way to solve this problem. Or just put points on all the endless spells again, but do it as a full lore. Even if it's just like 30 points for the OBR lore and 50 points for Manifestations of Doom, that at least makes you build differently. when everything is free, all people are ever going to take is the best option, which means all you are going to see is the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, and that is not fun. That is not enjoyable. That is not good design. Most of the people I play against have agreed to just take their faction's generic endless spells and use those. Because if not, we would be using the exact same endless spells against each other every game. And that is just not fun. I am definitely excited for this edition of AOS, more so than I was for 3rd. I'm looking forward to new rules and hopefully changes that make the game more fun to play. This is definitely the best system GW has right now, except for maybe Legions Imperialis. So here's to hope that they continue doing as well as they did in this launch month. Or launch 2 months, really. With the Battle Tome coming out in 2 weeks, I am going to be diving deep into how to play Skaven just to challenge myself. I don't think I'm going to do that for every faction, but Skaven for sure are a lot of fun. Have a wonderful weekend all, and I'll see you all next week with a short video getting ready for Bolt Action 3rd Edition, which is coming out in a few weeks, and I will be covering in depth.